City of Sanford City Commission Work Session, Monday, February 22nd, 2016, 4 p.m. Railroad Depot Room, 2nd floor, Sanford City Hall, 300 North Park Avenue, Sanford, Florida.
We're a few minutes late. Let's go ahead and get started with immediately into the MOU with Tory Development.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the Commission, we're very honored today to have with us our new partners. And I had shared with the Mayor, putting together the MOU was like a couple that is getting ready to get married.
Oh.
And you have a prenuptial agreement. Because you know it's going to work out, but as the airlines might say, in the unlikely event something does go awry, you need to make sure that everybody's clear on that. So with that, I'd like to bring to the table, please join us, gentlemen, and allow you to introduce yourselves.
For you. Should we sit or we
Yes, please, no, sit.
sit.
Great, thank you.
Can I say one thing real quick, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Does anybody in the room have an extra pair of reading glasses in their
I
desk?
have one at my desk.
Thank you. Mine are not in my purse. Thank you.
Allow us, Mr. Mayor, to introduce a member of our development team, Rafael Rivera,
Ms.
who
Rivera.
is joining us today.
Welcome,
And so
Sanford.
you know
Thank
who
you.
the new gentleman is, and recognize his face, and know that he's with us.
Excellent.
So good afternoon, and thanks for having us. We really are excited to be here, really are excited. Every time we come, we feel more excited. So just to introduce ourselves again, for those who don't know as well, Vinny Torrey from Torrey Development, Richard Heisenbottle from Heisenbottle Partners, and Rafael Rivera from our development team. And we wanted to, again, express thank you to all of you, because it's been a very pleasant experience. Everything that has happened so far has been extremely pleasurable for us, and we really appreciate your positive feedback the whole way through. So we went through the MOU process. I think it was a very thorough process. I think it went well. We really have a very positive feedback of how it went. If you haven't had a chance to read it, it lays out a schedule for us to accomplish what is the next step, which is arriving at a master plan that will hopefully give us the roadmap for what is to be built in these three city blocks, as we call them, the catalyst. What that'll be, we don't know. We have assembled a great team to get there. Aside from our knowledge and expertise, we brought in Dover Cole, which is a world-renowned master planning company who's done many of these projects, as you guys already know. And we've also brought Andy Colhart to Miami Economic Development to do our market studies. So we think we have a really good team assembled alongside of Rich Heisenbottle, which has deep experiences in this type of project. So we know what our challenges are, and we're ready to engage the community. We're ready to engage all of you. We look forward to engaging all of you. It's going to be a lot of conversations that we need to be having, just so we understand what you all are thinking, what you all are wanting to see happen. And I think we understand what should be happening. We've always expressed to you that this is a process that, well, at least the way we look at it is we're going to use what Sanford already has going for it, and we're going to use it to a maximum capacity, and we're going to try to use those assets, which is specifically, as we see them, the water and the historical aspect, which is the small town and that wholesome feel. We've been seeing a lot of people reach out to us. A lot of people have called us just with all positive feedback, all expressing a lot of angst to get this thing going. So are we. So we're ready to go. If you guys will give us the vote today and give us support and support we need, we will definitely be working hard to get this thing done. And that's our next step.
Yeah.
Let me kind of echo, say a few more thank yous all around the table in the negotiation of the MOU. I want to thank the city attorney's office for being cooperative with our attorney. Personally, I want to thank the manager for stepping in, and adjudicating certain key issues there right towards the end, and pointing the direction at the end of the day as to where we both go, and we did move. And And also Little John staff is also here. They were an indispensable part of this and deserve your thanks, commissioners, as well as our thanks for helping get it done. Because we're coming in cold, not knowing all the players in the game, and we do want to get to know all of you. I thought that one of the things that would certainly be a question is what are we going to do and what's the general timeline for doing it? So we put together a schedule that I want to pass out right now. We'll start with this table, and then if we have enough copies, go around the rest of the room. And it will outline the process that, quite frankly, we'll be starting almost as early as Wednesday morning when we get back. But while this does not take into account all sorts of exact dates for things like the charrette process, it does give us an idea generally of what our timeline is and where we're going to be. And as you can see, number 2 on this list is your this evening's approval by all of you commissioners and that is the kickoff. That's the precursor to absolutely everything. It allows us to go ahead to the next step and authorize our consultants to proceed. We'll have their contract signed within the next week. And then the most critical first part that has to occur, and I want everybody to understand this, and then he alluded to it, is Miami Economic Associates will prepare their market analysis of Sanford. They're going to come in. They're going to speak to many of you in this room. They're going to get your thoughts. They're going to get a lot of information out of the community that we may not even think is there. We've given them about 5 weeks to tie a ribbon around that and wrap that up. That's the 35 days that you see under item number 4. And somewhere in that same period of time, we haven't determined an exact date yet, but Dover Coal & Partners will conduct their first site visit during that first 30 days or so, and they'll begin, before we ever start the charrette, their own preliminary design analysis. Little John has provided them with most of the data that they might need about the sites, dimensions, all of the aerial views and aerial maps and things like that are going to be necessary for this process, this charrette process. And then we'll through the course of the next week or 2, we will try to pin down and get on everyone's calendar, the community's calendar as well, an exact date for this design workshop charrette. My gut feeling from having just finished one last week that had Dover Coal in it, where I represented other property owners that had a couple city blocks on the north side of Miami Beach, this needs to be probably a day-long event. That should occur on a Saturday, just for the maximum ability of people to come, and attend and participate and feel like they're not taking off from work to do that. This other one occurred in the evenings, and it was a nightmare in my view. I mean, you're rushing home from work trying to get here. It was tough for the consultants. So this ours belongs on a Saturday, and along with the manager and the others that we have to schedule, we would expect this is something that's going to have to be noticed, because we really do want all of the commissioners there. I mean, in addition to everybody and everybody else with an interest in town. So we'll get that date pinned down. But for purposes of the preliminary schedule, we're in the early half of April. After that workshop charrette, which Dover Coal and some of the folks from my firm will lead, then we'll start the preliminary master planning. Then we'll actually get to drawing things and understanding dimensions and seeing what fits. We'll be using the information that came from Miami Economic Associates. Those are the guys that are going to tell us, well, if we put retail here, how many square feet, and should we be considering, and what sort of funding or what sort of debt service are we going to be able to pay with the kind of rents that we might be able to get, and so that's going to work its way through every part of the development of the mixed use sort of development that I think we all see. If it relates to office space, if it relates to residential for sale, if it relates to residential for rent, all of that sort of information will come out of what the number crunchers and market soothsayers of Miami Economic Associates, tells us from their research, and then we'll make some judgments of our own as we go through this master planning process. We'll get something on paper that that is respectable enough to show all of you, and then we're going to have what is really a work in progress session. Right now, we're looking at that as an early June date. That'll be another time for certainly for the commission and the community to get kind of a second bit of input into the process. We're going to show you what we came up with. We're going to tell you why. Dover Coal will present it again. That'll be another public hearing, so we'll have to notice that one also. And out of that, we'll take some additional notes and go back and begin the process of making some adjustments. But at that same time, after that presentation, it is our intention under the MOU for us to be working again to negotiate and finalize the development agreement. And the development agreement we'll be working on at the same time as we finalize the master plan, so the two will go in concert with one another. We'll be finalizing a bunch of technical drawings that go with this. We'll be finalizing the perspectives that go with this, so folks can get a feel for what this might look like. I think you're all expecting us to deliver something contextual, and that's contextual to the community, because we sat in this room and we talked about the fact that it needs to say Sanford. It needs to be Sanford. It may be a new face of Sanford, but it needs to be have a feel and have that context. So we're going to work hard on that. At the same time as we're doing that, the third part of this process that runs in parallel also, Miami Economic Associates comes back and gives us the true financial analysis. It's not the building program, okay, put in 150 apartments, and the distribution of those apartments should be so many one bedrooms, so many two bedrooms, so many three bedrooms. At this point, they can see something, quantify it, and what they're going to do here is tell us what we can expect to receive in terms of revenue to pay debt service. So these are the kind of numbers, the kind of banker numbers, Mr. Mayor, that we'll be putting together at that time to, as they call it, to the true financial analysis. First part, market analysis. Second part, financial analysis, and all of that will shift into the big hopper that allows us to generate the final development agreement and the legalese of that agreement. And then we'll come back when we got that done, and now we're expecting that to be early August. And sooner if we can do it, possibly sooner, but the consultants have bought into this schedule right now. So we were expecting in the first half of August to come back with a final presentation of the master plan for your approval, and at the same time the development agreement in place. That is our mutual goal. So if anybody has any thoughts or questions or suggestions.
What if I'm going to go straight down the path of the left-hand path. What if we can't agree on a development order? If you guys come back to us and say, we need X, Y, and Z, and we say all we can give is M&O, what happens at that point? Let's say we cannot get to an agreement. From a development order side.
Yeah, so what we tried to do, and I voiced this opinion twice, is that to make sure that this agreement made it so both sides had a way to meet in the middle, or tried to meet in the middle, and made that be the way this is put together. So we don't want to lose our investment. And this is like a half and half situation. We need to meet in the middle for it to work. So we crafted, at least I think we crafted it, so we can't be as aggressive as it, this is what we want or else, because then we're going to walk away from a lot of money. And you need to be at the same point trying to meet us in the middle, otherwise you have to give us half. So this is like a half and half situation that was done sort of on purpose so that both sides couldn't reach and say exactly what you just said.
We think that by the nature of the way the agreement's written, both sides are encouraged to get to an agreement that can make this go forward. If we were to walk away from the agreement, we're going to be out an awful lot of money. So we don't want to walk away from the agreement. If you were to walk away from the agreement, there's an opportunity for you to do that as well, but you would have to pay us probably half of, or thereabouts, of what we're planning on spending in order to, and ultimately you'd be purchasing all of our documents from us. We don't think you want to do that. So we think that the way this is structured, both sides have, all things financial point to both sides finding a way to make this work. At the end of the day, it's going to come down, as you probably should know better than anyone here, how we can make the financial aspects of it work within the market that we've got, or the market that we can create. Now, we're also expecting to create a market. We're not just expecting it to be, it's not here, some of this market is not here today. We're expecting to bring it, and find it and cultivate it.
Yeah, and some of the things we're discussing, and we do this all the time, is beyond this three-city block situation. We're talking about involving the county and what they have done, they haven't done. What has the university been able to do, hasn't been able to do. Corporate has been able to get, why can't, so we're gonna look at this as a city-wide situation. Why? Because if the city cannot make it happen, it doesn't work specifically for this. So we're not trying to just do good for this three-city block. We're trying to do good as it relates to that. If we have retail, we have businesses there, they need to live long. So, I mean, we're trying to invest in these for the long haul. This is my daughter's stuff. I'm not doing this for me. This is hopefully stuff that she'll get when I so we're doing it in that fashion. We're gonna plant some eggs here. We're gonna make this thing for the long haul. And so, today we drove by the airport. We need to see how the airport is gonna play into this. We need to see how, again, the county, the courthouse. This is the stuff we're talking about, and that's how we've been.
While you've been tasked us very specifically with the three city blocks, it's in our personal view, this is about community building, and it's not really just the three city blocks. We want to see all of downtown Sanford rise with the tide. It is a catalyst site. The purpose is to use this as a catalyst. But just know that we're looking at other buildings in town saying, boy, it'd be great if that could be filled with thus and so, or that could be filled with thus and so, or we could have, or there would be more shops here and the infill spaces between, on vacant lots that exist today. So all of these things are just, frankly, they're in Vinny's mind and mine naturally, because that's the way the two of us think. But we think it's to everyone's benefit, and it will be to everyone's benefit. We'll discuss we're going to stretch over the borders of our site as we do this charrette, and take any bright idea that anybody can give. I mean, some of the things that Vinny was alluding to right now, one of the things that I think has to happen is we have to find a way to bring more people downtown, more businessmen downtown, more offices downtown. Now, I don't care who the offices come from, but we have to find a way, because those folks that are working downtown will end up shopping downtown, will end up eating dinner and dining downtown, will end up wanting to live downtown when we give them a good product. And so it's more complicated than the three sites. We're trying to encourage others to come also, and we're going to do a fair bit of that by meeting with an awful lot of people to see what, and if any of you, we're going to start by meeting with the commissioners as soon as we can, until we get to know every one of you on a first name basis. But if any of you can think of anyone or anything to help kind of facilitate this going forward, please just pick up the phone. Call Vinny's number, call mine, anytime.
Well, it's obviously a legacy site for not just the five sitting here and the city manager, the attorney, everyone else, and the people in this room, but it's a legacy site for the city of Sanford. So when I ask that blunt of a question, I mean, understand that my fear and angst and trepidation and the fact that we picked you for a reason, because we think and everybody did, because we think you're the best and you are going to create the best product. On the other side, $225,000 is a lot of money to me and to our taxpayers and to the people sitting here. And so, like Mr. Bonaparte so aptly put it, this is our prenup, and that we're going to walk hand in hand. Hopefully, we're skipping down the river walk together, and enjoying each other's company. But there's always that little bit in there that says, I got to cut a check for $225,000 because you came back with something that was unacceptable for us. And I don't want that I'd just soon get it out on the table and let's have that discussion.
We're very clear on that, and that's
Yeah.
been the thought process the whole time we've been working on this, is that, you know, this is not for us to overreach in what we ask for, the same way, you know, you guys need to be reasonable about what we'll ask you.
There's a couple things that will affect this process. First off, everybody's going to see what Mr. Dolkart comes up with. He's going to make part of the presentation when we have our master plan charrette workshop. And he's going to talk to us, whether we like what he's saying or not like what he's saying. He's going to talk to us about the market. And we all need to listen very closely to what he's saying, because he's been doing it for the last 40 or 50 years, and usually successfully everywhere. So there's a market reality check that goes into this process. Then there's the preliminary master plan, which each one of the commissioners has the right to comment on and talk to us about, and that's where we should be all thrashing out the issues and the problems, or the things that we don't want to see. And so we get at that stage, we have the opportunity to change things, massage things a little bit. So it's recognize that you've got input at 2 stages, and then as commissioners and mayor, the staff will have input thereafter, because we'll be negotiating based on the ultimate development order. So their input will be involved in this. If all of us at staff level and at the commission level do our jobs well, we should get to the commission meeting with everybody knowing why we did what we did and where we're going. But it's going to take a lot of teamwork. It's going to take teamwork from the commissioners as well as us, and as well as staff, and as well as your good consultants over there at Littlejohn.
Right now, I think you're gonna find that most of the community that attends the first charrette is currently thinking that what's going to be built there is what John Jones designed. John Jones had 2 charrettes when he did his plan for the area. So I think that's gonna be one of the first things, is kind of explaining to
Why we aren't doing
the community why we aren't doing it. And of course, y'all have to understand, then we have to answer, you know, you talk about us coming to a charrette, and I'm sure we all will, but every time we go, we get beat up about something. And, you know, the first thing we're gonna get beat up over is, well, what did you pay John Jones the money for? So it's just, it's gonna be, that's gonna be a hard one to that one's gonna have to be addressed probably pretty early on. What, you know, why aren't you doing exactly what John Jones decided?
They may not have had all the information we're gonna have after 6 months of study, and we're not
Right.
gonna, and then we have Dover Coal, that this is what they do day in and day out, and they've seen successful projects, and they're gonna say why. So there's gonna be an academic reasoning for things, and there's gonna be a reason why we suggest certain things to you.
We're gonna let you explain that.
And you are, and that's okay, but
Oh, it already
Part of
is.
it is, I know, I mean, because the people I talk to are happy that we're taking a second look.
I've stated since the beginning, and we had to get something on paper. I mean, that was.
Right.
the
for
stated goals are
presentation.
very specific in terms of making the downtown be a catalyst, and the things that we're gonna do are
Right.
catalysts. But we understand there's a tax implication in terms of getting that tax base up. But we're gonna say, I don't want my taxes raised, and we understand that too, but there's gonna have to be certain things that we have to deal with. But the basis of this thing is to make the whole downtown become alive.
Go back.
What I'm saying to you is, some people will, if you increase, if a property increases your tax base, some people will have taxes be, like, for example, downtown, your value of a property is 200,000. Well, downtown becomes a lot more, it becomes
Oh.
300,000.
If we succeed,
So-
property values go
so
up.
it's not because
Somebody's gonna be
taxes
paying
go up,
more in
but
tax.
you're
I
paying-
misunderstood that
Not
you were
raising
gonna be
tax
asking
rate.
for a millage
No,
increase.
what I'm saying to you is,
No,
somebody's
we're not
property
asking
value,
for
we're trying to do is, what we're trying to do is that property that was
Got it.
worth X is worth more now.
Sure, got that,
And
yeah.
that means that they have to pay a little more taxes, but it helps the other guy down the street that downtown has that, it's what it's doing. Now, you also can charge more rent, and you can, so that's how it's supposed to work, that these things become the reason people want to come here and spend more time and effort. But that's also going to help the residential neighborhood down the street further, and that's going to help. So all these things kind of work together, it's a process.
And this is also going to be market-driven. I don't know that anyone before had the advantage of having an Andrew Dolcart and Miami Economic Associates run these numbers. They're not going to be secret. We're going to go. We're not. We're going to go over them with the manager. You know, we're going to share them with some of you and all of you, and so so we all understand the fiscal financial realities to making a project work. It's not. There's one sort of a project that guys, architects like myself, do. It's the fantasy project that we want to build. And then there's the real product that we're in the developer hat, I can build, and I have to build, and to make it work. And we have to deliver, in this second round, we have to deliver the product that we can make work.
But I want to go back to that point. So you have 3 city blocks that are not generating income in terms of tax revenue. When you build that, you'll have that income, obviously. But the issue that's just not the only way you need to look at it. Is that this whole thing becomes a very, everybody wants to be here. Well, that drives up things, and that's how things also increase the tax base. So that's some of the things that people want.
Right, and we have people that ask all the time, 2 things that people want the most, a grocery store and a pharmacy, and this is gonna bring many more heads in, and because right now we can't get a grocery store to even consider us, apparently in talking to them, they do the 360-degree radius of where their business is gonna come from, and we keep being told by Publix and Winn-Dixie that, we only have half of a radius, and that within that half there's not enough support. So maybe it's a way to look at too that eventually we can build a downtown population where we can generate some interest in that. And I know y'all have noticed the vacant building right there at our entrance, the big vacant building at French Avenue and First Street.
Old Sparkle?
No, that's Park Avenue.
That's another one.
It was an old Eckerd Drugs building. Like
The old Eckerd Drug Store, right down on what would be the highway on 1792, right there by our
The arches.
big arches. And so I'm excited about this. I have a very good feeling about this, and I could see y'all be one of the best things that happened to Sanford in a long time. And if
But we're excited in that same fashion you're describing. And today we were talking about the market. And when we were driving up here, we talked about the market because we do the things that we were talking about specifically, in that there needs to be an upscale market so people can go shopping. And I mean, something that people can feel good about going shopping in the downtown area. And we drove by and we said, this may be a site for, it doesn't have to happen in our property. It needs to happen around. We just need to provide the reasons for people to come and do that project and other projects.
Mr. Bonaparte?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, maybe I'll point out to Rachel, since we haven't seen her for a while, that this started a
That
while
doesn't
ago.
stop him from writing about it.
Rachel is the one writing about us. Rachel's boss writing about us. Bill, yeah. Such nice things about us.
This started with the city acquiring the property, and reference was made to Little John. And what the city did is first is to get Little John to come in to do a concept. And that was what it was, just the concept. And I'll let George kind of share with you, because it is different than the market study and the fiscal analysis. So,
yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity to do that. I think, that, I believe the workshop that was done and presenting the concept of residential, it was never intended to be a document that you could just go build. And so part of that reason is, and this is going to touch on, the questions about the $225,000, because I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, that is a lot of money. And the ownership of those documents moving forward, in the unlikely and unfortunate event that we don't, get to an agreement with Tory Development and his partners, that the city would have a detailed master plan, a market study, and architectural renderings the city would own, and could go through a specific RFP process with those documents and build. If there were a lot of different ways, obviously, to go about the development of the site, and the city decided to go through the RFQ process, I think most importantly, and wisely so, to control what got built. We all understand issues of not having control over what gets built and some of the problems associated with that. And so to go through a public process that Dover Coal is going to facilitate here is more expensive, quite frankly, than than if the city had just sold the land to a developer for, you know, a certain dollar amount through that RFP process. So again, our work on the design side was just to start a concept, but you know, additional work was extending the CRA, provide the, you know, extension for the next 10 years to provide some of those infrastructure improvements, and also all this working with Russ and his group on all the comp plan and land development code regulations so that we could actually go to RFP to get to where we are today. So, you know, I think this is all process and explaining, but you know, we're certainly excited about the direction that things are going, and I don't think it's necessarily one concept versus the other. I think it's a continuation of the process to get a community plan built.
So back to the point of, you know, we're going to spend 8 months of our time, and we're going to spend a lot of time and effort to do this. So we're also putting in not just whatever the monetary is. We're going to make this thing happen because we want it to come out correct on the other side. So, you know, forgetting the money part, we're challenged by the 8-month process, and we're going to do it.
You're gonna fall in love with Sanford, and you're gonna
Well,
want to come up here and
I tell you
spend
that.
weekends and.
All I do is compliment the place and ask them if I'm telling the truth or not, because every time I come here, I just have more of a quaint place, and it's a real place, and
It is a quaint place,
Yeah.
but one of the times when you come and we meet, I want to take you to my district, which is on the other end of town, which is where the mall is, the restaurants, some very large and nice apartment complexes. Because Sanford is a very, very unique community, because we have the quaint downtown, then we have an industrial section, we have the airport, and we have my district, which I'd call commercial. Wouldn't you? Now, what would you call it?
The newer section.
Newer section. But it's a lot of the stores, the malls, the shops. So, you know, I'm just interested in making sure that.
We need to see that also.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
We
Because-
haven't seen as
because-
much of that.
What
we
exactly?
need to see that.
Because what you decide to do, certainly people from that's part of our 55,000 residents are gonna want to participate in and use, and it's an opportunity too. You know, right now, a lot of my district tends to use Lake Mary because they're closer to Lake Mary than downtown. So it's a opportunity for me to think about how to get people more focused on that they do live in Sanford.
Mr. Colbert?
I was just going to add a comment, Mayor. We were part of the negotiating team for the city, and your initial question kind of led to the majority of this discussion, and that was, what if something happens? What if it doesn't go forward? And you mentioned the sum of $225,000 being a lot of money, and it is. As we sat and had discussions about this, I think it became apparent to us that if they do the job that they're contemplating doing, and as they've agreed to do, in 6 to 8 months, they'll have more than $225,000 in this. It'll likely be twice that much or more. And the concept was, if they spent that much time and that much effort and that much in the way of funds, and the city just, for some reason, did not approve it, would it be fair to all concerned, including the city, for them to just suck it up and walk away? Not a legal term, but a practical term. The idea was that if we go all the way through this and everybody works on it and everybody cooperates, and at the end it's just not a plan for some reason that the city approves, the city can purchase and is required to purchase those documents for $225,000. But that doesn't make them whole, but it acquires for the city the documents that was being talked about that the city could still use. There are 2 other provisions, and they're in the document. It's section 9, and it starts on page 7 and goes on to page 8. But from a legal standpoint, if the developer defaults, if there's something the developer is required to do, the developer defaults, the city asks them to perform and they don't, then the city can recover from the developer the city's cost up to $225,000. The city's got staff time in it, the city's got attorney time in it, the city's got consultant time in it, and other things. So the city could recover its cost and own the plans for that sum. On the other hand, if the city became arbitrary and was required to do something and the city defaulted, the city would be required to pay not to exceed $25,000, not automatically the $25,000. So from the negotiating standpoint, that seemed to be a way to get the parties to be able to move forward to hopefully come up with a plan. And I'm simply trying to respond to the question
No, I
that you
agree.
originally
I agree, I
asked.
appreciate it, because we weren't sitting, obviously, we weren't
Yes, sir.
sitting at the table, Mr.
Yes,
Robert.
Mr. Mayor and the members of the commission, I appreciate Mr. Corbett saying that, and it's a good entree to let the city commissioner who was involved with the city's negotiating. It was both Mr. Corbett and Mr. Group. Little John was involved as well, Mr. George in particular from the city staff as well, some others, Mr. Gibson. But, so the city was at the table, and of all the agreement, the part that got the most time and attention was the what if. And I really want to appreciate Mr. Colbert working with the attorneys for the developer and saying, we expect everything will be perfect, however, what if? And so what would be fair? Fair to the city, but you're also fair to the developer. So I appreciate Mr. Colbert spending the time to explain that background.
But the huge leap that they're taking, I think it's very fair. I did say that they will be doing some environmental some site assessments.
The city as well as, and we've already started to do that.
And what will be our projected costs on those, just the assessments, not any?
We don't really know at this point because we're doing phase one now. You may, if you go by you'll see the dirt's turned over where the old rock scissors building was, because we are doing some testing. We are going to do a phase one. As a matter of fact, we did some testing on the most recent property that we purchased. We are going to be doing the phase one, which is looking at historically what was there, and then where appropriate doing a phase two. In terms of what those costs will be, that I don't know.
And just to follow your point, so to see how this went back and forth, we were asking for geotechnical reports, and we agreed to take on those expenses, so this is similar. We took one, they did one, we did one, in the same fashion.
We're going to absorb one set of testing costs, the city's going to absorb the other set of testing costs. And the reason he doesn't know, the manager can't give you that answer is because we may find nothing in a
Sure,
phase one
sure.
environmental, and we
That's why I
pat
just
ourselves on the
wondered
back and move on.
preliminary.
And then it's that, and then we may find something that we need to investigate further, and well, okay, then we have a responsibility to do that. So,
Got it.
you know.
Okay, last question I have,
I doubt it.
Ed, darling.
And then the rest of us get to talk.
You're supposed to, oh, you've already talked. You know what?
No, knock yourself out.
Knock you out. I tell you what, if you're so darn smart, keep just going. Ask any more questions.
I like the casual nature of this.
Oh, yeah. That's why I just sit back. I love it.
Explain to me how. And maybe I'm just the dummy
So Art
in the
doesn't get to
room,
go?
huh?
Art doesn't get to go? Oh, okay.
Maybe I'm just. I won't let them. They don't get over anything on me. I get mean.
That you were aware of.
Explain to me how this works with the property. I guess I'm confused, and probably this is just very, very basic. City of Sanford, the taxpayers own the property at this point. So we're going to go through this process. They're going to build on the property. At
We
what
don't know
point,
the answers to these yet. That'll all be part of the development order.
with the title change, etc.
How it all comes down at the end of what they need to build, the financial feasibilities of it, the market studies, what we gotta give, what they gotta give, and what all that comes down to. So that's a very great question, but it's very premature.
Okay,
We'll get there.
but regardless,
And that's where I'm scared. And that
Yeah.
goes back to my original question of, okay, they don't get the
Right.
the numbers that you think you can get, and all of a sudden you try to create something less than desirable than what we want. And, you know, And then all of a sudden you say, you owe us $225,000 because we're trying to put this, you don't want this, and so we tried. That's my biggest fear.
The process is geared so that we don't go that far and then come out the end with something that doesn't work. I think we'll know a little bit how this process, I mean, as the market study comes in, we're gonna know we're not gonna do that.
Well,
Right.
And that sort of comes to the question
Good thing we're not on video.
I had, which I thought I understood when I walked in, and now I want to make sure I understand. The development agreement is a jointly prepared agreement. It's
Yes,
not,
sir.
The developer prepares and hands it to the city. It's something that's being jointly worked on.
Just like this MOU.
Along the way.
Same way
Okay,
the MOU
that's-
work.
I mean, that's how I read it.
Same
Yeah,
back-and-forth process.
we'll ask for.
So it's not like we're
this
going
time.
to be caught off guard, and
No.
there's no way we can be surprised that they're coming up with something that we don't want to do.
And we're trying to put that development agreement in as early as we
There shouldn't be a
can.
way we're surprised.
As soon as we have an understanding of what we're building, we're gonna try to get a development agreement to start being, given to you guys for discussion, so that, because it's gonna take a month or two just to go through it. It's not gonna be easy. Not because of anything, it's just, that's just the process. It's a challenging process. But we're aware of it, we've done it before, we know how it works, and I think we understand how we all tend to think to go. I'm very excited, and I don't know what else you would be wanting to know from us, but
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, it is on the agenda for this evening at the 7 o'clock meeting for your approval. It's approval of a memorandum of understanding setting forth specific guidelines with caveats, as the mayor's talked about, in terms of the ability, if there's a default or there's not coming to agreement. As Mr. Colbert has said, it's been worked out, so it isn't that anybody wins. It would be just minimizing loss, but also incentives so that people do work together.
I think it was very well crafted. I commend you and your staff, because I think they did a great job. And just the way you explained it today, that's how the whole thing went. It was well done by staff. And if this is the way we're going to work together, I'm very hopeful that we're going to do a
Oh,
good
yeah.
job.
I have a good feeling about this. I really do. And sometimes I can tell, we have that woman's intuition. I don't know what it is. I have I'm just really excited about this. Really excited. And I can't wait for you to come back and call me so I can take you through the rest of Sanford.
We will.
Well, that's a good caveat, a good segue, I would say. They are in town today and tomorrow. They would like to meet individually with each member of the city commission. So maybe during the break, we can see about scheduling some time tomorrow.
And I got Public Art Commission in the afternoon, and I'll have to really work hard at that, but I will make
Or
it
maybe
work.
in the
And if it's
morning.
not tomorrow, it's not exactly going to be our last trip. We're going to wear out the road between Miami and Sanford. So, since there is no airline flight here yet, which we're going to have to figure out how to change.
Thank you for not saying you're gonna fly your private jet from the airport. So that's a great start.
Well, that'd
you
be
guys.
okay too. No, it wouldn't.
We're driving our rental car.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions while we're sitting here? I think obviously that you guys will be here at 7 o'clock tonight for the main meeting, but greatly appreciate, all the work I've seen, a lot of the, the going on back and forth and working together. So I think we look forward to
And thank all of you very much. Good.
skipping hand in hand down the river walk together with a great development order. We will, everybody.
No, Jeff, you can see it.
Well, women's intuition, she can her tutu to us.
I will.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
All right.
See you all later. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen. Very good. Who's terrible?
All the other commissioners.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, speaking of sleepers,
Did not say that.
I'm just joking, you Fred. You're up.
Mr. Mayor and members of the commission, continuing the process of providing with the city commission with updates in terms of where we are with staff and the different departments. We're very pleased tonight to have the presentation by the Human Resource and Risk Management Department, and with it, we'll turn it to the director, Mr. Folsom.
Thank you very much. And first of all, I want to say thank you for letting us share our information with you. We're very proud of our department. We're very upbeat, and we have a lot of things going on. And let me just kind of tell you what we have, and I'm going to introduce my staff. Department overview, we have 3 divisions: recruitment and employment, benefits, wellness, records administration, or risk management. And without further ado, if I could have my staff come up, please. Katrina, Dixie, and Denver. Dan, you need to get through here. Not Dan. I'm not part of this. Dan just joined our. Dan's our sleeper. Dan's our sleeper.
Sleeper is the key word, yeah.
Just to let you know about our staff too, is that other than myself, Denver has been here in our staff longer than anybody, and he's been with us for 2 years. Denver Cheek has about 30 years in the insurance business and has been a great asset to the city. Katrina Jackson has been with the city for nearly as long as me, about 15 years, but she's been in our department less than 2 years. And Dixie, you've been with the city about 3 years now? 3 years. 3 years now. Has been in the utilities department and joined us in December. So we have a very active staff, but we have very young staff as well. But anyway, I want to introduce them to let you know that Denver takes care of all the risk management day-to-day duties. Dixie will take care of all the benefits, wellness, records administration, and Katrina, who was doing that, has now been moved over. She'll be doing all the recruitment and employment. So I want to introduce my staff to you, and I'm very proud of all that you guys do. Thank you very much. You guys are welcome to sit down and listen to this and guard me if I need it. Okay.
Denver, what did you do for the Super Bowl?
Well, I took the winner.
Of course. Okay, I do want to let you know we have 4 budgeted staff members performing the responsibility of 6 2007 budgeted positions. I wanted to get that plug in there. These are the positions that we have. We have 4 separate budgets. You may not know that, but we do 4 separate budgets. We do operations, property liability, workers' compensation insurance, health insurance, and the wellness center. I won't go into all this, but these are some of the duties we have in our divisions: recruitment and selection, classification and compensation, employee relations, training. The pointer, yes. Compliance, benefits administration, and we do wellness, risk management, and records administration. This is our budget for this year, and you can see that we have, with the 4 budgets, we have an $8 million budget. So we have a pretty hefty budget for 4 people to manage. This is our actual year-to-date that we have. Now, it's not, you can't say it's fully year-to-date because some of the entries aren't in there. And I know that just by looking at it, some of the entries aren't in there. This is our final actual for 15. Is what we have. Now, as far as employment activities, I believe commissioners and mayor, you all received this report like this. But you can see in fiscal year 13, we had 70 job postings, then went to 72. Last year, we had 90 job postings.
Wow.
And so far this year, in 4 months, we've had 34. So I'm not going to say we're on track for 100, but we're on track for a few. You can see the applications we've received, how they've increased. We are now at half of what we had all of last year in applications. You can see the new hires. We've gone from 52, 42, 58, 15 this year. Promotions, you can see what they are. Retirements, resignations, dismissals, and deaths. I hate to belabor this point, but we really got hit hard here in the deaths with active employees here in 2 or 3 years. And retirements, you're going to see an increase. You're going to see an uptick in this. We have several employees who are in the FRS drop program this year. So you're going to see an uptick in that. Resignations, we're seeing a little bit of an uptick in that. Primarily, I'm going to say that's happening in all departments, but we're probably seeing it more in the police department right now. There's some active recruiting done by other agencies for our folks. And then down here with number of employees on payroll, these are considered employees. We have 41 who are temporary part-time. And we actually have 490 folks on payroll who are regular employees, who are classified regular employees.
Fred, before you move on, if you could go back to that, because one of the parts I think is important for the commission to see is when you're looking at applications received, and when you hear Mr. Paulson talk about we have retirements, the drop, the number of employees that are going to be leaving. So as we have openings, then we get the applications. When the application says that you must have a high school degree or equivalent, then that means that staff has to go through all of those requirements and then match them to see which ones meet. So we could have a position that we may get 100 applicants for, of which 7 may be the ones that really look, but that does not stop the staff from having to go through and determine which. So that's a lot of work, and that's my point of saying that when we have an opening, we have a lot of people, and the economy is picking up, but still, a lot of people will apply for positions that really are not qualified, but they meet the minimum qualifications, and therefore we have to go through by hand and identify and then sort them out, and that's done by the staff.
Fred,
Yes,
excuse
ma'am.
me,
Yeah, please.
the deaths, those were active city employees?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't realize that it had been 8 people since 2012.
Right. And to go to Mr. Bonaparte's point, I think just recently in utilities for the CSR position, I think it was 289, Bill, 289. Well, we had 290 folks who actually met the minimum qualifications, and then we tried something differently this year. On this one, we actually went through and found the 150, we were able to score them, the 150 with the top scores, to have utilities go through and look at those. And then if they need to see more, they can see them all.
And also, how many positions to be filled?
2 or 1?
The customer service rep, that's the one.
Just the one.
So for the one position, how many applications?
300.
Mm.
That's very fun.
Now just to be fair, it's not like that in every position, but there are some positions where we do get a lot of applications, and the CSR is one of them.
By the way, how long do you normally keep a CR?
Well, it's a mixed bag. We have some who can have their whole career, and others, one actually runs the airport now. So they don't move on.
There's upward mobility.
The reason I point that out is that seems like a lot, but those are the positions that are at the counter, and they are the ones that have the opportunity to interact with residents who have their water turned off, who have problems with their buildings, and it becomes a challenge in keeping some in that position.
Norton, you crack me up. The opportunity.
Last time, I lasted one day.
Yes,
Lasted one
some
day.
people just can't handle being yelled at all day.
We got an email the next morning, didn't we?
Yeah. They were just observant that day.
I don't want any part of that.
Okay. On recruitment actions,
1987.
on the recruitment action, just to let you know, in 2015, is we did have, we began sending all new hires over to the Wellness Center, regardless of position. We had 18 new police officers last year at a savings of almost $500 apiece. So that's $9,000. I don't know if you all recall, but we had a capital item for a hearing booth that was about 10 grand. We thought it might take about 3 or 4 years to pay for it. Because of some of the transition we've had, it'll pretty much pay for it in 2015. In January 2015, something we started to do differently as well is we began mailing all of our external job applications, postings out to different, either emailing or mailing out to 30 different entities. And accordingly, whether as a result of the mailings or merely coincidence, the number of applications in 2015 was 29% higher compared to 2014. And by gender, there was a 51% increase in female applicants and a 16% increase in male applicants. And then also, just to let you know too, is during this process in 15, is the city staff now has redundancy in electronic application program where more than one staff member can now operate that program, which we didn't have that in the past. So now we have some redundancy. This is our health insurance. Thought you might want to see a little bit of history on this. The retirees, you can see in 2012 we were at 420, employees and eligible retirees. We were at 422 in 12, and now we're up to 475. That's about a 10% increase. But look at the number of covered folks. This would be the eligible retirees and the employees, as well as their covered dependents, has gone from 699 to 815. That's about a 15% increase. Affordable Care Act impact, you wonder, we've heard about it. What's it all about? This is not it. It's not 1,300 pages. But this is some of the stuff. I don't know if you realize the city pays an annual transitional reinsurance fee on this now, about 40 grand right now. Yeah, it's a transitional reinsurance fees. Basically, we help support the program.
And
it's
that's
paid
money.
to the federal government?
Yes.
That's monies we were not doing in the past.
Really?
The PCORI fees, they're they're insignificant, but they're not nearly that much. They're about $1 grand a year, about $1,000 a year.
PCORI stands for?
I can't remember right now what it is, but I can get that for you. The city prepares and reports 1095C and 1094, should be, 1094C to IRS. And I will share with you, the Family Medical Leave Act is very complicated. The Fair Labor Standards Act is complicated. But I share with the city manager, they are junior high compared to the Affordable Care Act. Just to let you know, for our small population that we have up here, of 814 folks in our plan, to prepare the 1095C form, we had a spreadsheet and there were 75,000 cells that needed to be completed, if you're used to doing spreadsheets.
Well, that was one of the biggest complaints when that thing got going, was that companies were just bemoaning the fact they were going to have to hire new staff just to handle the paperwork.
That's exactly right.
75,000.
75,000 cells, and I haven't counted, but I can tell you I've spent tens of hours on this, and we're just about ready to get them out. Now, they were due with your W-2s January 31st, but the government gave an extension to all employers until March 31st. However, we don't anticipate waiting that long. We hope to get them out in the next couple of weeks. We have everything in. It's just a matter of uploading what we have up to our vendor. Was where we are with it. We're a grandfathered plan. That just basically, there's some advantages to that, but that basically means because we had a plan in place prior to the Affordable Care Act, we can keep that plan. But I will tell you though, if we make any changes to our plan that's adverse to the employee, such as increase their copay, increase their deductible, increase their co-insurance, we lose grandfather status. And what that means is our co-insurance that we have right now, that's $2,000 per person, $4,000 per family, would go up substantially, probably $4,000 to $8,000 if we would lose the grandfather status.
Oh my.
The Cadillac tax coming in 2020, now it's not the tax on your car. What that amounts to is that if your plan, including your health insurance, the employee contribution, the employer contribution, FSA, and maybe some other items, you throw all that in there, if all that dollar exceeds $10,200 in 2020, every dollar above that, the city will pay an excise tax of 40%. Okay, so let's just say that somebody has, we count what the employee pays, what the city pays, what the FSA is, and let's say it's $11,200, the difference is $1,000, the city pays a $400 excise tax. Now the scary thing about this, in talking to our labor attorney, and this is, and I hate this for anybody who has one, a lot of us have had flexible spending accounts for years. But one of the ways employers will get around that is no longer offer flexible spending account. And this is, the Affordable Care Act it's a big tax. So by eliminating the FSA, that means all that money that was pre-taxed will now be taxed if you want it.
Wow.
The flexible spending account, that's already had an impact. They've reduced the ceiling on that to $2,500. They just this year put it up to $2,550. The city plan must be affordable, have minimum values, and meet essential coverage. Those are the three legs of the Affordable Care Act. Dependent coverage up to 26 years of age, regardless of residence, and I didn't put it on here, and regardless of marital status, and regardless if they have children or not. Now, we don't have to cover anybody else, but if my son is 24 years old and he lives in Spokane, Washington, and he wants to be on my policy, he can be. Not his children, not his wife, but him. Okay, so Affordable Care Act impact, potential of increased membership, thereby potentially increasing exposure, thereby potentially increasing costs.
And Fred, the 40,000, the
40%?
the transmittal
yes.
reinsurance. Transmittal reinsurance, that's nothing but a tax. We get nothing back from that.
Is to help us support the act. And if part of I didn't put up here is that if you all recall, for years and years and years, there was a pre-existing clause. Pre-existing clause has gone out the door. So pre-existing does not apply anymore. So you can have somebody who has some type of malady, a major malady, and they can go to the new insurance company, and the new insurance company will cover them from day one. Well, when some of these, here's what I think. Now I don't know this for a fact, but with some of the companies volunteered to be part of the exchange, they said, "Look, we're going to lose some money with this. We need some help." Well, part of this money is to help fund the exchanges. Okay, health insurance claim payments. I want to get this one out of the way. Okay, let's look at, let's go from right to left if we can. In 11 and 12, you can see $2.4 million. That's what we paid. This is what we paid by month. 12-13, 2.5, 13-14, 3.6, and there we are, 14-15, $4.6 million. Okay. Now, if you look at it by calendar year, you can see it's 2.6, 2.6, 4.3, 3.9. Now, I might have mentioned this to you before. I'm sure I have, or we've had. Let's see. Okay. There we go. All right then. Of this 4.3, we had a very small percentage of members, and it was needed, but we had a very small number of members. Less than 2% had claims costs in 2014 equal to 100%, on nearly 100% of the members in 13. The point I want to make on that, if you take that 2.5 out of there, 98% of our members had 1.8 million in claims. So I want to say there are some things that are working, okay? And then we had some large claims here. You can see this one month, we had $1 million claim. As you can see, that's an anomaly. We don't see that. Now here you had 2 months back to back, but those were adjusted here to the tune that our partners worked with us to go have those bills audited, and we had a reduction. Okay, now, some good news. Health insurance claim reimbursements. The way our health insurance is set up and structured, we actually do have some insurance to help pay us back. So far this year, oh, you know what? I missed the best point on the last one. Let me go back to this. Look at this. This is where we were this time a year ago. Look where we are now. That's the good news on this one. And that's in 4 months. So if we would keep that rate, we'll be at 2.5 million in claims this year if we can keep that pace, which is significant.
As Randy sneezes in, he gets all sick.
Okay, and on the health insurance claim payments reimbursements, again, the way our health insurance is structured, and I won't go into details on all these, but you can see if you add all these up, that's close to $1.5 million we've received in the last 4 years, which is significant.
Received from
Our insurance carrier.
Blue Cross.
Well, we have an excess insurance carrier called Symetra. It used to be Safeco.
Okay.
But they're the ones who send us the checks. And you can see where we have we break it. The reason we have it broken out this way, we look at it this way, but the insurance carrier looks at it this way. So I just wanted to show you that.
Fred, how do they make that work? I mean, we must pay them a pretty big premium.
Yeah, we probably pay them, I'm going to say close to, I'd say $500,600,000 a year.
So basically we're paying them $600,000, but we got back total.
During that time period. It's like any type of insurance. You may pay for it for 3 years and not use it at all. But then you may pay, so you can see right here, if you look at, sorry about that. If you look at these years, this year right here, I mean, they didn't make any money on us then.
Sure.
And if you look at these 2 years and combine them, they probably didn't make any money. And but you know, you go down here to look at this. They made some money. They made some money. And they probably made some money here.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like any insurance, and what they do now, it's a good program we have, and it's worked very well for us. The Wellness Center monthly utilization summary. Wanted to share this with you real quick. This is a information. It's a 13-month report. December of 14, 385 appointments were made. Look at this past December, 503 appointments. Significant increase. The utilization, you see it's over 100%. What that means is they only have so many appointment slots available, but they're squeezing people in after hours or during lunch or doing something like that. So therefore, they were operating at 113% more than their capacity. Now you go down here and you go, well, this doesn't make any sense. That's 503. That's less than 385, but we're at 96%. That's because in November we have a second doctor on Wednesday afternoons for 4 hours. So we basically have 2 doctors in there on Wednesday now. And also an important feature of the wellness program are the HRAs. And so we had 657 HRAs in total for this 13-month period. Now, what's an HRA? That's your personal health risk assessment, and they check your blood, about a 28 panel, and we found employees who have found out they've had some type of serious disease and didn't know it until they had this done. And this is why we actually attach an incentive to this. So, I hope I didn't miss one here, did I? No. Okay. Now to risk management and the workers' compensation claims, I wanted to show you this, is that we've had a very good success with our 28, 33, 26, 36, 28, and 9. And oh, by the way, we are now sending, beginning in January, all of our workers' compensation claims, unless they have to go to the emergency room or something like that initially, are now going to the Wellness Center. Okay, so you can look at this and say, well, gosh, during that time period, at 5 years and 3 months, we had 160 claims, and we had $1.1 million in expenditures. But what's the relevancy in that? What do I judge that against? Okay, let's look at 96, 97 to fiscal year 0001. During that 5-year period, we had 481 workers' compensation claims, and we had cost of $3 million. The city, during the budget during here, looking forward to this year, decided to create the position of a risk manager. In January of 01, the city filled the risk manager position. So as a consequence, the city made a decision to try to mitigate these costs. So the question is, did it work? Well, you look at it 10 years later and you can see the results. That's a $2 million savings right there.
Wow.
That was a good decision by the city to do what they did. But let's look at it a little bit deeper than that. All right, then, so if you take this number right here, divide it by 5 years, which are these 5 years, that's going to give you an average of 612,000. Take that 612 and multiply it for the 14.3 years of 0102 to 15.6, and you come out, if you continue this trend, of $8.7 million. So if you look at the projected of 8.7, the actual 4.5, the savings to the city is $4.2 million. Again, shows the wise decision of the city. They recognized what they needed and they created a position to do it. Okay,
Fred's underpaid, man. He's telling me he needs to make $4 million.
Sounds like Fred needs a raise.
Okay, automobile claims. Just to give you some history, this is just a snapshot of automobile claims. You can see, and I'm proud of this, is that they were up here 90, 95. Now, by a claim, what I mean is, it's not an accident. If you have somebody hit one, if we hit one of somebody else's vehicle, we have a physical damage claim to ours and an auto liability to theirs, so that's 2 claims, okay? So, we may have had 90, 95, 81, 62, 71, it bounced back up, but look, 53 and 54, and that's a credit to the departments. When we have our monthly risk management meetings, safety meetings, they can see, we show each department the kind of accidents and claims that they've had, and we've had departments take serious and aggressive action to reduce their automobile claims, and it's worked.
Except for police.
Yeah, police departments.
Yeah, we drive a lot.
Risk management,
Not all of them. Then you're not driving dump trucks.
risk management recovery. We're not an enterprise fund by any stretch of the imagination, but we try our best to get our hands on money whenever we can. You saw that on the health insurance earlier. You can see in 2002 and 2008, we recovered $265,000 during that time. Basically, people damaging our property is what this is. Our vehicles, our buildings, our lampposts, our street signs. But holy cow, look at that big drop right there. What happened? Well, what happened is during that time, the risk manager was doing the job as a director as well. Something had to give. And this, unfortunately, was part of it. So, but during that time, that 10 or 13 year period, the city did recover $303,000. But this really bugged us right here. So when we created the position that Denver's in right now, one of the first priorities we asked him, we gave him was recover monies. Recover monies. Denver didn't let us down. In 2014, Denver collected $168,000. In 2015, now let me back up. The 168, part of that is from Little Red Schoolhouse. I don't know if you all remember this or not, but the Florida League of Cities at first proposed an offer to us. Denver, with his experience in the risk management field, was able to meet with somebody, do something else, and he was able to get us another $77,000. Also, 2015, that's $74,000. 2016 so far, $11,000. So far in those 2 years, the city has been able to recover nearly the same amount of money we recovered in this 10-year period. And this does not include, we do have excess insurance. It does not include that excess. This is actually going after the money, is what this is. These are some of the examples we have. Department activities at a glance: our annual Employee Service Awards program, annual Safety Incentive Program, Wellness Lunch and Learns, Wellness Initiatives, Wellness Walks, Wellness Logs, one of our favorites, Wellness Logs. The Safety Incentive is one of the biggest hits with the employees.
What's a wellness log, since it's one of your favorites?
Well, the wellness log is that we encourage the employees to fill out a log monthly of their activity, and then we will actually give them a financial reimbursement for that, for their activity. We're trying everything we can to encourage wellness. We've had a wellness bowling night. Need to go to that some night. We'll have it sometime in June if we have it, and we will take the whole bowling center. And what we want to do is encourage people to have a healthy lifestyle and show them as a way, maybe if we can get 1 or 2 people even, when we do this, to get a healthier lifestyle, it was worth it. The annual Take Your Daughters and Sons to Work Day, the annual Cancer Awareness, schedule ICMA counseling sessions, Florida Retirement System information sessions, preparation of EEO4 report for 2015, preparation and completion of the Sanford Police Department EOP report for 15, same thing for the city in 16, the 1095s, the paying classification study coming up, the annual open enrollment, the health insurance dependent review. The city had never done that before that I'm aware of. Citywide first aid training, active shooter response training. We had 175 employees show up for that active shooter training we had recently. Claim mediation, certificate of insurance and contract reviews, blood drive, and workers' compensation, general liability, claims intake, and that's it.
You know, I wish we'd have known about the active shooter. That's something that we'll probably next time you do one,
We'll let you know.
we ought to, yeah, because we're in the building a lot, Fred, some of us more than others, but wouldn't hurt to know what to do with it.
Do you have any questions? Can I help with anything? Okay, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Fred, my goodness.
Madam Deputy Mayor, Assistant Mayor. All right, the next item is a regular meeting agenda. There was one item, just wanted to spend a couple of minutes on. It's on the agenda for acceptance of a grant, and it's the Fort Mill and Anthem Park Theater. So we'll have Public Works, Mr. Robert Beal. As Mr. Beal comes, we're in the process of looking at the Fort Mill Park and the amphitheater. We have gotten some grants in the past. We still don't have enough money to complete the entire project, but this will get us a lot closer, and we have some ideas where we can even do maybe a phase 1. So,
Correct. We've already applied for a $500,000 grant. We've received that. We've received a $200,000 grant from FERDAP, which is another grant. So all total, we would have $950,000 in grant funds. We would offset that with rec impact fees. Currently, we have $650,000 in rec impact fees, with additional monies coming from what's remaining from the Coastline Park project. The cultural facilities is a good grant for this type of project.
just want to see if the commissioners have any questions.
So we have been awarded the grant, or we're?
That's what this is for, is the agreement and the use of the funds.
Good.
So today's action, it is on your agenda to accept, would be to accept the monies.
Correct.
We decided whether it be a phase 1 or phase 2. You mentioned mid-reference.
Well, I should say a start. And so as Mr. Beal said, with this and using some rec impact fees, we'll have enough to do the first part. We'll maybe talk a minute about what that is.
Well, the original phase 2 was the completion of the park. In order to do the completion of the park, you're probably looking around $7 million. So we broke that up into the next phase of the project, which would be the amphitheater, in the large field area, creating an amphitheater, an area to do concerts or, music in the park, things like that. Once funding's available from there, then you could we could complete the rest of the party.
Sorry, Fred, I had to go smoke a cigarette.
I'll let you know I was already done.
No, I'm joking. I'm
You're
joking.
so bad. You're so naughty.
Sorry, good.
I'll one-on-one with you.
It's a wellness talk.
So does that answer your question in terms of we're looking at the amphitheater, to concerts and different kinds of activities?
So when do you plan to implement that?
Currently, we're in the design process on the amphitheater, so.
Does that include a redesign of the grand wall?
That's all in negotiations on the design.
Great. I'm
Yeah,
excited about that.
staff's meeting together and coming up with the plan for it.
And when I said a grand wall, I should have said not so grand wall.
Duly noted.
Wall. Big massive. There's the way he's designed it.
Are they gonna modify it?
Well, that's what he said, they're taking that look at it.
At staff level, we're looking at all of it, working with recreation and planning to make sure that we got a copacetic design for everybody.
And we looked at it too with Chris and Tom George and Robert about the view from First Street, looking at that back side of it, how that view of it is. So there's some changes that are being made to it.
Will we be able to, the rest of us be able to see it before you finalize it?
No.
I'm talking to
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
No, you don't get to say that.
Currently, we're working on a conceptual for the design. So.
And I thought we had talked about having the opening facing First Street so that the those in the seating were actually facing the lake. That I thought didn't we have a conversation one time before about the
The problem with
positioning?
doing that is that sends the sound back towards
The neighbors.
the neighborhood. The sound needs to point out to
I got you.
Enterprise.
Yeah, and this is directly facing the lake.
Yeah. The great cities.
No, that's a city that Morton Cullity writes about all the time.
So very.
Very.
Okay, any other questions on the amphitheater on tonight's agenda?
No, not
Alright.
from me.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you.
Are there any other agenda items for tonight that the commission has any questions on?
Huh?
That's a no, it's pretty.
I've never seen that brand.
pretty quick time.
What is Guarana, Antarctica?
Although it's not on the agenda tonight, I can push it off if you'd like, the board agenda, or board appointments, which there's no change except for Randy's going to vice mayor for 2016. Everything else stays the same unless someone has something to change on any of your appointments, if there's a conflict, if there's something that you don't want to do or can't, really more so can't being
Now let's look at
the
it.
point, everything pretty much stayed the same. Or everything did stay the same. And Russ, I apologize. I didn't get with you on the technical stuff, but if you have different, because we'll have to reach out to the master plan, and then if you have some changes there. All right? And that'll be approved or I'll bring this up downstairs at in my comments.
I have a question, and it really doesn't matter, it's not that big of a deal, but on the vice mayor, if we're actually rotating,
It's
We're
not a
not
rotation, it's a mayor's appointment,
okay,
so.
So I guess we know who was favored.
Well, I guess.
Or at least.
I guess we
And
do.
then I'll be looking at it.
Randy, you've been showing up late to meetings.
So what I'm gonna do tomorrow, because I'm stopping by Randy's office, I'm gonna go, Randy, what trips do you guys have planned coming up?
Exactly.
And then I'm coming back to Norton going, okay, what's
I'm gonna
going
be
on
gone.
those days?
I'm gonna be gone. All right. That's all I've got. Mr. Bumper,
Yeah, the only thing is, and the clerk's office was kind enough to include it in your packet, and I want to take a point to thank the clerk's office to arranging the ethics and sunshine law training. The state has now required that elected officials, as well as some others, must have 4 hours annually of training. The city clerk's office, however, has been able to get the premier presenters in that, and therefore we are offering on March the 15th from 1 to 5:30 and March the 16th from 8 to 12:30. The representatives from the Attorney General's office as well as the Executive Director of the Florida Commission on Ethics. They are the premier speakers, and we're having it here. If you cannot make this one, then there are some that are available online. I will share with you that being able to attend this is probably the best training that you're going to possibly get, and I want to thank the City Clerk's office for putting that together. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Randy, you got anything?
No, just on that trend, the one I did online was one that was on the Florida League website. And I can't remember his name right offhand, but it was an attorney, I believe, out of downtown LA. It was really good. I thought he did a good job, real informative. Actually provided real life examples, I think. That's the one I told you about
Yeah,
too.
that's the one I did.
I thought he did a good job with it.
Cool. All right, again.
This is just for your information. Y'all see it before it comes out in the mail. This is, yeah, that is the first mailer that will come out from the political committee that was put together. And that will come out before early voting starts. And then this one, that one, it will come out just before elections.
It's a different one.
Mhm.
Is that
A little
it?
bit different.
Is it a different-
Hey, yeah, I've got one.
And if you find any mistakes, please don't mention them because it went to the printer today.
Well, Art, I know you've done a lot of work on this, so thank you very much for doing all that and putting it all together.
And I'm liking that you simplified it. Understand it.
Hopefully the wildness of the primaries won't throw us off because they, in terms of their targeting of who this is going to be sent to. Doing it based on voting history. And so hopefully it will, they pick the right target. So I think it's going to about 6,000 or 8,000 households. The other thing I'll bring up here, and I've got a couple other things downstairs. If you have not seen it, on your way home, go by and see the new Ritz Theater sign that is at the theater that was lit up on Friday night for the first time. And at that event, Commissioner Bob Delary was the MC outside for the lighting of that. And, the theater has about $75,000 worth of technical upgrades. They need sound equipment, curtains, stuff like that. Just at this point, just putting it out there for y'all to think about it. He approached me and asked if I thought the city would be willing to go thirds with city, CRA, and the county.
CRA just put $50,000 into that, again.
I'm just throwing out what he has.
Appreciate the throw out.
So he and I will talk some more about that.
Well, they're from the CRA and they're from the city's budget.
25 from the city's budget, 25 from the CRA, 25 from the county.
Well, I sat in a meeting specifically 3 or 4 months ago where this all came up and they finally changed the sign, which I don't even know how many times we funded that sign over the years of city commission, and which goes way before me, that it never got changed, and it was, oh my God, we need to change this, we need to change this, you know, CRA, Jeff, will you support the CRA in funding $50,000 additional monies into it? And I said, yes. At some point in time, little fledgling, you know.
Okay. Well, I mean, they are, I mean, they're bringing
Yeah.
a lot of people, they are.
Oh, I know, they're doing
operating
great.
in the black.
I love it.
So-
I mean, I absolutely love it.
Anyway, and I don't have the list of items, you know, we will look at that. I'm actually writing, or helping them write a grant, which maybe will take care of it.
If we did it, where would it come from?
Well, that would be a discussion for when we decide to.
Little Red Schoolhouse funds.
This
are
isn't-
gone.
This isn't something that we're gonna be talking, this isn't something to decide within the next even couple of months. I don't know.
Okay.
I know they do bring a lot of people to
Yeah.
the city.
think
But I
it's
would
great.
encourage you, you have not seen it, drive by.
It looks great. It does look good. Even though it's backlit, and we don't have a lot of backlit lights, do we?
It's a,
I'm just joking. I heard that the other day.
Oh, jeez.
well, and most of it's the big backlit marquee part is refurbished. It is not new. It was just repaired. And the lights that we replaced, all the lights with LEDs. So you get a dancing girl. No, it doesn't have dancing girl.
Maybe to come ask for that money too.
I don't think they want dancing.
Okay, Commissioner Mahaney, you got anything before we break?
Don't think so.
Commissioner Williams? No?
Yeah.
You got anything, Bill? No? You done?
Y'all seen that?
Okay, thank you all. So